Hi guys, welcome back. So I have decided today to do a live, not live kind of video, and I thought I'd just walk you through what I'm going to do. I'm not actually going to make it into a card, I don't think, but I'm going to make like a panel piece, if you will. So I have this is Smith and Weston, not Smith and Weston, that's a restaurant, ignore that. W.H. Smith, it's a local stationer's. It's just some watercolour cardstock of theirs. I actually quite like this, it's quite thick, and it works really well. There is a sort of slightly smoother side, but I'm not going to overthink this. This is a Halloween card, so, or front, or piece, so not going to overthink it, but that's what I have there, and that measures about 5 3/4 by 4 1/2. It literally was a piece that was in my stash, so I just grabbed it. It works. So I have that piece ready to go. I have my embossing. I bought these off Amazon. They're just like little, I think they're supposed to be for ice cubes or something, but they'll help if you need help holding your cardstock while you heat emboss. But I have them, and I have my little buddy. Again, I'm not going to overthink it. If the embossing powder goes somewhere it shouldn't, that's okay. So for the ink, I'm going to use Simon Says Stamp's clear embossing ink. It's really nice ink. And then for the embossing powders, I have, the only white powder I have is I think it's just white. I've done a little sample on top there, but it's a Stampin' Up! One from forever ago. It's the only white one I had, and I wanted to make sure that I got a white of the first layer on there. This is like a creamy colour, so you could just use a clear over the top of that. That would work too. I have some clear shimmer ones that could work as well, so whatever you want, but I just wanted a white, and this is the only one I have, and we'll see whether it even works because I have issues with that one. And then I have Nouveau's embossing powder. This is the black, what is this called? Jet Black. It's a nice black embossing powder. Now, black embossing powder is notorious for being a pain in the to use because the specks just go everywhere. So because this is Halloween, I'm okay with that. I'm not going to overthink that. But yeah, black embossing powder tends to be quite tricky, I think because the pigment powder that's in it or something. Right, we also have some pixie powders. I decided to go with these two colours. These are the two, like a blue and a violet, purple violet. I went with these two colours because the whole point of this, when we get to the rest of it, is that it's inspired by the Haunted Mansion. So I needed the sky to be this kind of colour. So we're also experimenting with the embossing, by the way. Then the other two inks that I do have are Black Soot Distress ink in the regular ink, and then Distress Oxide in Iced Spruce. Can't talk. I needed the, you'll see, it's a highlight bit, so it's fine. For the stamp, I have the Happy Halloween from Honeybee Stamps. This is a big 6x8 stamp set, and I'm going to use the spider web. Again, all these things add extras in the background. Then I have, and I haven't labelled it of course, but this is from Hero Arts. It's like a mansion, like a silhouette mansion, and then there's the ghosts and a bat and a little fence. So I'm just using the house from that, and I've already die cut all this stuff out just to make life easier. And then I have Honeybee Stamps, the Fright Night Circlescape is what I used. Again, haven't labelled it. And so I used the tree from the Circlescapes, and I used the two, what are these things called? Gravestones, and then also the pumpkins. But we're going to sort of make them a little darker because I've used some bright coloured cardstock. And then again, I haven't labelled this, but this is MFT. It's like a beach scene, so it gives you all these pieces to create like a whole beach scene. But I liked the clouds. These two clouds here I thought looked the spookiest out of all four of them. They've got that sort of spooky look. And so I cut them out, and then I also cut that, which it would be the sun for this scene, but I'm using it as a moon. And again, we're going to ink up those things just to make them look a little grody. And then I have Newton's Nook. This is the Flying Bats. I just want to try something with this. I've searched for, you know, the bats that sort of fly up and away, and they get smaller as they, you know, like a pattern of them flying away. Loads of places are out of stock of the ones that I've seen, so I'm going to make this work, hopefully. And then for my sentiment, I'm going to use the Tim Holtz Ideology sticker book Curiosities from, I want to say 3 years ago-ish, but anything like that will work. And I'm going to use the Silence. You'll see. Anyway, that's if I remember to put it on, because I often forget those things. So I think we'll start with the embossing, because that's probably the messiest bit. So for the embossing, you're going to need your embossing powders, and I'll do it bit by bit, and your clear embossing ink. And I also have a dedicated handle and sponge applicator. This is a Tim Holtz handle, and the sponges that he, you know, well, he doesn't sell them, but the people sell them for him. So it's one of his own ones, but I've just dedicated this to clear ink. So you could use Versamark ink, you could use the Simon Says, you could use, can't think, who else has clear ink? Oh, Nouveau, I've got a little one of theirs. Right, so just going to grab this enormous stamp out of here. Let me just pop this over here. And I'm bringing in my Tim Holtz stamp platform. I love this thing. The more I use it, the better I get. It's one of those tools that the more you use it, the easier it feels. Like you get more comfortable with it, if that makes sense. So and I have cat hair. Of course, I have cat hair on it. Right, so if you don't know, the stamping platform has the word clear and rubber on here. If you can read the word the right way around, then that's the type of stamp you're going to be using. So we've got clear, I can read the word clear. But if you need to, you just unlatch it, turn it around and put it back in. I think it's the cleverest thing ever. Right, so I'm going to pop this piece in here now. I'm not going to worry about that. I do have some like temporary tape, literally from a runner, that I just shove on there to help hold this in place, but use what you have. Now I know this isn't going to fit. Oh, it mostly fits. Oh, that's pretty good. The reason I'm putting the spiderweb in the background is just extra. You know, it's Halloween, you can be extra. So lined it up on here where I wanted it. Right, that's just again, just extra. I'm going to rub this over the top. And basically we're going to do like a double embossing. I've never done this before, so yeah, it may be a complete disaster, but it's Halloween, so we'll make it work. So I've added some embossing buddy slack powder to take all the stick off there, so that when we ink up the stamp and stamp it, the embossing powder, when we put that over, will only stick to the inked areas. Or that's the idea. And I need to get, I've forgotten something, of course. But I will grab that in a minute. In fact, let me get it now. A little coffee filter for the powder. you know, I forgot. And then just press down. I kind of walk my hands all over it. Sometimes you need a bit of extra, and I will do this a couple times just to hope that we get enough in the background. But again, it's a Halloween card, it doesn't really matter if it's not perfect, and you can't actually see that at all on there. Also, it's textured cardstock, so it may not, like on a smooth cardstock, it will go on better, if that makes sense, which is why I'm stamping it more than once. So I am giving it welly on this one, but it's only because it's textured, and yeah. Let's do one more. There. And this one I want my white embossing powder to go on there. And I can sort of see this in real life, so it's not so bad. Looks pretty good. Not bad. I don't know what, oh yeah, you can kind of see it there. So just pop that there for a second. Let's get this back in here. If I can. Right, and then I am going to just set that to one side. I've got embossing powder everywhere. Now we're going to heat set it. So what I will do, I will heat set this. I will just want this to warm up for a little bit, and then I'll heat set it and I'll come back. Right, so now you can see the shine on it. And that means it's embossed, and I've missed a spot. Of course. Right, so if you tilt it in the light, you'll be able to see when that embossing powder is nice and shiny, then you know that it's all heated. So I'm going to bring this back in just so I can hold the paper in place while we're doing the next bit. Let's get this over here, and then I'm going to grab my stencil, and I'm just going to pop it. It doesn't really matter, it's got like its own pattern. Just going to stick it on there where I think this would work. I'm just going to just bring it up so that they fly as if they're flying over, you know, off the page. And then I'm going to take my ink, my clear ink again, and this thing. Now I did a video on this showing you how you can ink or, you know, emboss with your heat emboss with your stencils. So this is what we're going to do again. So this is just for clear ink. I'm just getting it in the ink, which I know you can't see that. I'm just pressing it in here to pick up the ink, and then we're going to pounce it on there, and I'm going to try and go somewhat randomly. So just kind of going up like that. So let's see what we get and not throw a fit, as Tim Holtz says. So I'm going to take that off, pop it to one side so I can clean it. Bring my little coffee filter back in, and now we're going to attempt, I didn't even use the powder tool on this, I probably should have, but anyway, and we're going to see what gets picked up. Just want to make sure that I cover as much of it to make sure that I got enough. Got the bats. So do you see? Isn't that cool? So I'm going to take, oh, a dry brush would be useful. I'm going to take a dry brush, and there's some areas where there's just a bit of the powder. Like I said, it does tend to want to go everywhere. So wasn't sure whether to get rid of some of these, where they're just like half a wing. So that's all I'm doing there. I think that'll do. Right. So I'm going to pop this back in the container. Before I put my arm in it or something. And then I will heat set this and I'll be back. Right, so can you see the glossy on glossy? So we have our black bats, just some fun texture in the background with this spider web. We're just going to go with it. Yeah, the embossing, the pigment or whatever it is in the black embossing powder does stick everywhere, so it's not, you know, the funnest thing to work with, but right. So I'm going to take these, I've got some paper towel here just to absorb a bit of moisture, but I've got the purple violet and the midnight blue. Now if you've not used pigment powders before, they are awesome. Nouveau do them, who else? Nouveau, Ranger, can't think. Brusho, they have, the Brusho ones are not shimmery like these ones will be, but these are cosmic shimmer ones. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to tap. You're not going to shake it on there because there's way too much, and it's going to look like nothing, and then we're going to spritz it with water and it's going to be amazing. Actually, should we spritz with water first? Let's do it the other way around. Normally I do it that way. Right, so I'm going to lightly spray this, hope this works. Maybe a bit more than light. And then we're just going to tap some of this on while that's wet. And as it gets wet, it will move. I'm going to add some of the purple. want this kind of intense, so hence the shaking when I told you not to. The sprayer is not. And it will just keep getting more and more intense. Because I want this kind of moody, I'm going to bring some brusher in black if I can find it. There she is. And just lightly tap. This one you definitely want to light. A light tap. Right, a bit more water. And then with this heated tool, we're going to try and dry it a little. And keep your tool moving because you don't want to reactivate or try, you don't want to burn the embossing powder. So So there's our beautiful background. It's got that moody purple, blue, shimmery thing going on. So while that carries on drying, off to the side there, I'm going to work on some of these pieces. So these are the fences. Now the fences from the honeybee set, I like that they're only linked at the top there, so it means that you can kind of manipulate them and make them look like they're all broken and rickety and stuff. So that's very cool. This, I was going to add something to the background, to the back of it, so that it stood out, which I think I will still do. I was just going to add some sort of darker yellow at the back, so we'll do that. There's my moon I need to work on, and then all these pieces, I feel like they just need a little bit of highlight. So let me grab this and this. That would have been easier. So for the coloured pieces, I'm going to use a, where am I? I need one of these brushes. I've just got a small brush, and I'm going to use the Distress ink in black soot, and just ink them just to make them look a little moody and like they're old. These are old pumpkins. And then the same with the moon. Because it wouldn't be a bright moon if it was all, everything was a bit, you know, moody. And then I need a little one here. This should work. So then I'm going to take the ice spruce, and I kind of figured that the moonlight would be shining down, so we need a little bit of moonlight just to edge the tops of all these things. So I will ink that, just in case my camera dies. I will ink the edges at the top, and then and get the house sorted, and then hopefully we'll be able to put everything together. So all I'm doing is I'm taking the oxide ink, because that will sit on top of the paper, and just bringing it down over the top just to give it that little lift. Although that doesn't look like it's showing up, so let's change it to antique linen, which, whoops, I've changed it to antique linen, but I don't know if that's even going to work. We shall see. Oh, that's better. So it just gives it a little edge to all the little gravestones, as if the light from the moon is shining down on top of them. And I knew I had another one. That's better. With the clouds, it's just to give them a bit of depth, really. It's nothing, just to kind of highlight them a little. And my other one. The tops of my tree. And I'm being kind of random, doesn't have to be perfect. Just anywhere you think the light might sit. And maybe down one of the sides. So again, just on the top of the fence. And then the house, oops, the house itself. Again, just coming down from the top. I'm not worried if it's perfect. Oops. Maybe not that much. That's fine. Just gives it a little bit of something. So, done that. Right, so what I'll do is I just grab some yellowish cardstock. A lot of this should work. All we're going to do is pop it behind here, wherever it's going to fit. So I will just pop these at the back and then I'll be back. Right, so I've got everything stuck together. I've just got the yellow behind there, so it's like everything, like the lights are on and it's glowing. So that's what the back looks like, but it's fine, it's fine. You could also inlay, but I thought this was quicker and easier. So I have my panel here now, and I'm just going to start sticking, basically. Figuring out where I want, say, my tree. I think I might pop that off to this side. So let's do this. I'm going to stick everything flat, so nothing raised or nothing like that. Some wet adhesive, and I'll use an acrylic block in between just to try and help it hold it in place. So for this one, I'm just going to pop this down here, I think, right on the edge. Like so. Yeah. On the edge, on the edge, on the edge. My tree. And I'm not worried about trying to get glue on everything. I'm just going up the main branches. Doesn't matter if they're not perfect. Get my tree here. He looks cool like that. You see how it overhangs a bit onto the house. Let me zoom you in a bit more. Oh, there you go. It's a little better. He's kind of hanging over there. And then with the fence, I think I might just stick it straight across here. Somewhat wonky, like I said. Try and get some glue on there. Again, doesn't have to be perfect. This last bit here. When that's dry, I'll just cut that off. I overlapped the fence just so it kind of flowed. And then we've got all our, let me get this off here now. Then we've got our little, what are these things called? Gravestones. Pop one there. Maybe a bit of pumpkin there. Can be fallen over. So again, all these little things just add to it. I can get underneath this. Yes, I can. Another couple of gravestones over this side. Don't forget, afterwards you can always go back over with a little inky dauber thing and highlight some more if you need to. To stay. And with the pumpkins you can inlay again. I didn't bother. Mostly for time, but it's dark enough behind them that it doesn't really matter, I think, anyway. So where am I going to put my moon? Should it go there? I've got glue everywhere. Let's just put that like that. Kind of where the spider web meets, if that makes sense, like where it starts. Whoops. What not to do. Where the spider web starts to sort of go out. That's what I was thinking anyway. Before I threw everything across the desk. And then I like having the little clouds go over the moon. It adds to it. And then I'll have another, maybe another one here. And then just a random cloud. Out there. So while that just sits and glues and bonds, the bonding, I'm just going to get my sentiment, which I decided to use the words, the silence. I thought that was apt. And then deciding where to actually put this. So, could put it on the house. I wanted to kind of feature as such. So I think maybe I will put it on the house here, maybe. Maybe not. Don't want it sort of lost, if you know what I mean. Maybe across there. Like so. So I'm going to add extra adhesive. Just so it really like bonds to the paper and that. Or we could put it down here. No, I like it here. So, albeit it's under there, and it's, I will pick it up in a minute. That's it. That's my, very random, but my sort of inspired by the Haunted Mansion card front. This is big enough. You could probably put this onto a 5x7, which is probably what I'll end up doing, and I'll maybe just add a couple of layers of cardstock or something underneath, like maybe a black layer and then have a white card base because we've got the white of the spider web. But I thought it turned out better than I thought it was going to. For a minute there I was thinking, oh, this is a disaster. And I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I like it. So let's have a quick look. Look at the shimmer, the shine from the embossing. Isn't it just so cool? And I thought that was pretty clever on my part. I don't know if I've ever seen anybody double emboss, but it's probably been done 1,000 times, but I'd never done it and it kind of worked. sort of, kind of, maybe. And then obviously the silence, because, you know, everybody's dead. And then the little gravestones and things in the front there, which, like I say, you can take even like a white gel pen and just add extra highlights so that there's your eyes kind of drawn in to it. I may do that afterwards as well, but I like it. I like the darkness of it. Shocking, I know, those who know me. But I love the background. The background is kind of like that image when you look up Haunted Mansion on like good old Google. That main image is that blue, that dark moody blueness that you get. I may also just ink the edges with some black soot, and that will also draw your eye into the center of it. But I like it. I hope you guys did too. Let me know what you think of a live, not live. Yeah, or whether you just prefer good old voiceovers. I'm just trying to mix it up a bit. So until next time, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this. Bye for now.